I'm Steph Gray, the Public Relations Coordinator at Asolo Repertory Theater, and I'm sitting here with Bruce Leckier, the fight director for our production of Hamlet Redux. Now, Bruce, can you tell in detail exactly what you're doing for this production and maybe just what you do in general, just an overview?
Well, fight director is someone who handles all the moments of violence in a particular production. So Shakespeare tends to write about some violence.
He's kind of violent.
He's a violent kind of
Yeah.
guy. In this production, which is sort of a condensed version of the traditional story, what we haven't condensed, though, is the ending, which tends to be a big fight between Hamlet and Laertes at the end. So that's my primary job, is to work that sword fight. And but there's also some other little moments that the director wanted me to look at anytime we get a little physical and we start choking a little bit.
Yeah, you got to choreograph that.
Yeah,
you know what that to
you just
go
don't want to
on.
wing that kind of stuff.
How do you prepare for a production that's touring and you're not familiar with the space? Or
Well, you make certain assumptions, and one assumption I made right away is that I don't want to take up a lot of space. So if I take up a lot of space for this fight, and that's what they have in their bodies, they may not have it. So that's not good. If you show up at a place and all of a sudden it's a little tiny stage, then you're in trouble. So I tried to just confine it to as small a space as possible, and then they can relax that a little bit if they're in a big space, but if they're in a small space, it's not going to be an adjustment.
now, since there is two different casts, two different Hamlets, one's a female and one is a male, so has there been any different choreography for Katie Cunningham, who's playing the female? Everything's the same across the board.
Everything's the same. Well, I mean, as each cast has sort of made each scene a bit their own, as the directors allowed them a bit of flexibility in their own blocking. We've done that a little bit in the fight as well. So the shape of it's pretty much identical, but little nuances that most people probably wouldn't realize, except for me.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
About 25 years.
25 years. Now, do you think
I'm
you're...
only 26.
Okay.
So I started.
So, okay.
Yeah,
very young. But,
just in case you were.
Oh, I'm looking.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be the next question. So
It was. We can talk after the interview.
Good.
Would you ever consider joining the WWE, the world? No. Even though you...
You're talking about those wrestling people?
Yeah, the Wrestling Federation.
See, they don't really... Nothing looks real, does it?
I mean...
You really like that?
No, I'm not a fan. I just didn't know if that was your cup of tea.
Good, because otherwise we have to cut it right.
Not saying that Asolo doesn't support the WWE. Asolo supports everyone.
Well, this is a rapier, which is a very traditional weapon in Shakespeare's time. It's a cutting and a thrusting weapon. This means we can swing it as if we're going to cut you, and we can thrust it as if we're going to stick it in your body. Okay, good. Go. Show me that cut. Look at that last cut, how high that. One thing I'm working with these guys a lot, which I think is missing from a lot of sword play you may see on stage, is the idea of distance. So that if we are really concerned about not being wounded by that person opposite us, our opponent, then we want to try to stay as far away from them as possible. And if it was real, I would be very concerned about that, right away. The further I can stay away from them is my number one way of defending myself. So in some ways doesn't know any of these rules of sword play. So what they do understand is what we show them is danger or not danger. So if I'm standing this far away from you and you have a sword and I have a sword, I'm not respecting your sword at all. Why don't you just stab me?
Another hit! What say you?
So that's what a fight director does. It tends to show the actors how to do things safely and still make it look real, so that nobody gets...
Is there anything you're working on for Asolo this year, for the whole season or the rep season?
The other Hamlet production.
Oh, Hamlet Prince of Cuba. Okay.
Yes, I'll be coming back for that.
All right. Now, it is a great year for Hamlet at Asolo.
It's a big year
It's
for
a
Hamlet.
very
Hamlet's
big year.
everywhere.
Yeah, so that'll be Michael Donald Edwards, our artistic director's production. So you can look for that at the end of the rep season. And Bruce, thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk later about
Excellent.
getting coffee.
My age, yes.
Yeah.